One of the last big decisions the Chicago Bulls had left to make on their own roster with their own internal free agents was Ayo Dosunmu. Well, we now know Ayo Dosunmu will be coming back to the Chicago Bulls. We're going to talk about it all and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? So just a couple of hours ago, we got announced that the Chicago Bulls have officially signed Onulap Bitim, the Turkish guard slash forward, to a two-way contract. Now, the Bulls have announced that they have officially re-signed restricted free agent Ayo Dosunmu to a 3-year, $21 million deal to stay in the city that he's from, and that is with the Chicago Bulls. Now, I know a lot of Bulls fans had thought and are pretty down on Ayo Dosunmu after a sophomore slump of a season. But considering Ayo Dosunmu was a second-round pick who still showed and flashed some extremely high defensive capabilities, the Bulls have now locked in a young guard who's still 23 years old, has tons of promise defensively. I still think hasn't really scratched the surface of what he can do offensively just because he hasn't really been put in the situations that are best for him offensively. And we'll see if that goes forward with the Chicago Bulls. But now the Bulls lock in Ayo Dosunmu. He's going to be here on the roster. Now, it's not going to be as clear-cut as what it was before with this role. With the acquisitions of Javon Carter and the ascent of Kobe White, who's grown tremendously last season, Ayo Dosunmu is going to have to come in, especially if Alex Caruso's more healthy and he plays more of that guard position. Ayo's going to have to come in and once again show and display that defensive capability that really got him on the court initially for the Chicago Bulls. Is he up for the test? I think he is. And I think this is a smart decision to lock in a player who turns 24 in the middle of the season, but still has tons of promise. And for the Chicago Bulls, I've said it, many other ones have as well. The Bulls have been tired of being put in situations where their own players go somewhere else and they really blossom. Now the fact that the Bulls do have a head of player development, signing that shooting coach to maybe help round out Ayo Dosunmu's offensive game some, it makes more sense to lock him in. Now, again, like I said, he's going to have to fight for a role. It's not going to be as easy, but with Dalen Terry kind of not looking as ready, this may have made the deal a little bit easier for the Bulls to decide on to go ahead and bring Ayo Dosunmu back. This is a fair deal as well when you look at it. It's a deal that's 3 years, $21 million. That's $7 million AAV that locks him in for less than the mid-level exception, a little bit over what his qualifying offer is, but now you know you have Ayo Dosunmu locked in on an easily movable contract on top of that, right? Ayo hadn't gotten an offer sheet from any other team. Now, if you do decide that you may need to move on from him, if Dalen Terry does ascend, you get another starting point guard next year in the offseason. Those type of things, you can move that deal with Ayo Dosunmu, and that's if they need. Not saying that the Bulls are necessarily going to look to move on from that deal because I do hope that they develop him here, but if he does not carve out that role for himself, this is a deal that you can move fairly easily. We've seen deals worth almost twice as much as this be moved pretty easily. And so I do think this is a calculated, another smart deal by AK over this offseason. And really when you look at what's happened this offseason, AK has made smart, intelligent deals that have not really hurt the Bulls with big long-term money, that also adds in tons of flexibility and are easily tradable assets if the Bulls do want to set themselves up to make a midseason trade, especially now. It doesn't seem like they're going to use that disabled player exception. This pretty much wraps up the Chicago Bulls free agency in a lot of ways. Now we're bringing Onulap Bitim. They now have 2 open roster spots that are both probably going to be veteran minimum contracts. Locking in Ayo Dosunmu at that $7 million a year means that the Bulls right now are about less than $2 million below that luxury tax line, which probably solidifies the fact that unless Christian Wood is coming at the veteran minimum or anyone else, the Bulls are more than likely just not going to be using that disabled player exception until midseason. And that is when you could see some of these cost-effective, really low-tier deals that the Chicago Bulls have signed, or low-money deals that the Chicago Bulls have signed players to, possibly be moved if need be. The Bulls have set themselves up to potentially be players on their trade market if somebody becomes disgruntled or anything like that. But, we'll talk about that at another time. The Bulls are running it back, and that's what's now evident. They have now locked in Ayo Dosunmu. He's going to have to fight his way into that rotation. We'll see how that shakes out and works out. And now Ayo is probably going to play less point guard than what he's ever had before, just depending on that. and be able to really focus defensively on what he can do, being that change of pace guard. If Kobe White ends up starting, he may be the first guard off now. It's still going to probably be Javon Carter, Alex Caruso. But, this is a smart deal for all sides involved. And so, if Ayo's eventually moved, if he stays here for the longevity of this deal, the Bulls have made another smart deal. And I like the way that this works out. But like I said, this pretty much puts a wrap and a bow on the Chicago Bulls offseason. Expect some veteran signings, and like I said, I expect one of, if not both, Javonte Green and Derrick Jones Jr. to kind of come back and be on the end of that bench. But other than that, hey, this is probably it for free agency for the Bulls for right now, and we'll see if that disabled player exception gets used in the middle of the season. Let me know what you guys think down below on the deal. Do you think the Bulls got a fair and good deal? Do you think they overpaid for Ayo Dosunmu? Let me know what you guys think and all that down below. But that's my time. Make sure you guys are following the show at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, you want to leave a text message and our voicemail. The number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related because of you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.